Hey guys, I'm sorry this video has taken so long to get out, but here is going to be my review of the Hunger Games movie, which I saw 2 weeks ago. Well, first let me start out by saying that out of the entire series, I have to say that I enjoyed the first book the most out of the entire series. I have read all 3 books. I read Catching Fire and Mockingjay while I was in England, and I have to say that the movie, which was really fantastically acted, I enjoyed it. That is for sure. I can definitely say that I enjoyed the movie. But I have to say that it neither impressed me nor disappointed me. It was just kind of like through the entire thing. I will say that I think that Jennifer Lawrence was an amazing actress. Though I have a problem with the fact that they only called for whites only in the casting of the character of Katniss, I think that Jennifer Lawrence was a great pick to play the role. She definitely channeled a lot of the emotions of Katniss's character through her own facial expression. I think she carried the role very well. She really is the crowning jewel besides the actress who plays Rue and some of the other supporting characters. I really enjoyed pretty much everything about her acting throughout the movie, and I feel like she really carried this film very well. On the other hand, the actor who played Peeta really wasn't that much of a fan of him. I think that he looks the part, and he certainly can pull off the charm at times, but he definitely falls to the wayside in comparison to Jennifer Lawrence as Katniss. He's not as good. He tries, and I think that he does a decent while getting kind of like the idea of Peeta, but he never really captured the character to me. The actor who plays Gale, he was good for the small amount of time we got to see him. The one who played Effie was great. That's Mahogany. She played that role really well. She was great. Woody was great as Haymitch. You know, that was really greatly done. So besides the actor who played Peeta, I don't have that many qualms with the acting. I think the acting is probably the best thing about the series. I mean, the movie. That being said, everything else kind of seemed meh. And I think it really has something to do with the movie itself, but just of my ideas of the entire books. After reading all 3 books in the series, I don't believe in the world of the Hunger Games that much. So watching it, I feel like the movie didn't make me believe in the world any better than the books did. The Hunger Games is the kind of book where, like, it's a great fun read, but if you try to think too much beyond the surface, the world kind of unravels at it seems, because it doesn't really make sense for the Capitol to do what it doesn't get away with it for so long with how its actions are played out. Not to compare it to other things, but, you know, in the story of the Labyrinth, or in Running Man, or in Battle Royale, or in Gladiator, or any of those things that people often compare the whole killing children to, it's always when you have dehumanized, desensitized people to these to these groups, you know, or there's an advantage that the people have over this other kingdom. It's not just like we just take your children and make you play and play them against each other and everyone enjoys it. That doesn't make sense to me, and I don't even think in the world of the Hunger Games it really makes perfect sense. I mean, when you have the part where Rue's death and the salute goes out and there's a riot, I mean, you can't tell me that this hasn't happened before. I mean, besides the one major riot that started the Hunger Games, I don't see how this would make people be even less apprehensive to fight back. I never really bought that idea, and the movie didn't really sell it to me any better. So the premise itself kind of already loses me to a certain degree. And it's not like I can't sustain disbelief. That's not the problem. It's the fact that the first book sets it up really well. The other books kind of, as the world expands, you realize how little sense this makes. I mean, in the first book, you have the ideas of being a tribute and winning the Hunger Games is such a great thing. But it's really not, as you find out later on. So the whole system seems broken, and I don't understand how it manages to work. So in the back of my mind, that knowledge, as I'm watching the movie, makes the movie kind of lackluster to me in that degree, because I just don't believe in the world. But that's not the fault of the movie itself. It's more the fault of the source material that you're dealing with. So that was really my biggest qualm. Also, when it came to just the realism, they didn't try to make them look even at all like they were suffering physically. Because in the book they put a big emphasis on, like, not to let them starve, not to how skin and frail some of them look and how the people are. But yet, as I look through the crowd of all the District 12 people, they all look fine, health-wise. There's no one who looks emaciated, no one who looks really thin, like they can barely walk. They all look pretty damn fine, and that also kind of threw me off. Like, I'm just looking like, none of you look hungry. Like, I don't, like, when Katniss is saying don't let them starve, you know, I'm just like, they look fine right now, Katniss. I mean, when you leave, I'm sure it might be harder, but they look fine. And Katniss doesn't always catch some amazing food to eat every time she goes out to hunt. So it's not as if they would be perfect. And people have made the argument, well, you can be, you know, emaciated and still be, and not always be stick thin. But that's not the point. There was nothing indicating that these people had without luxury. And even small things, like the fact that, you know, she was perfectly coiffed and shaven. I mean, those little things that may seem kind of insignificant, they kind of all are supposed to build into this kind of idea, because you're building a world that exists. You're building a world. And so for your world building to make sense, you have to make everything tie together. And it seems ridiculous to have these people who don't have basic luxuries have perfectly coiffed, perfect skin, perfect eyebrows, perfect hair. I mean, I'm a black girl. Rue was in the Hunger Games fighting for about, like, what, like 2 weeks? Her hair is fabulous. And I'm just like, sorry, girl. Unless she was doing a twist out every night, your hair was not going to be like that. That is just not logical. That is a fallacy. But her hair was perfect. I'm just like, what's going on? And it's like, those things to me are jarring, because I look for those little details when I look at it. When I watch something and I know something about something I like, especially where I know the story so I can pay attention to just detail, it stands out to me that the effort was not really made to sell the idea of the destitution, the hunger, the lacking of just basic necessities in these other areas. One thing that also freaked me out was just like how, like, Cato and the other professional tributes were just so over the top. Like, I know we're supposed to not root for them because they're trained to be like killers, and even Cato has this whole moment where he's like, "Am I giving you a good show?" And Feminist Frequency really talked about this really well. But, like, there's nothing really done to make them characters. They just become these wild, killing, horrible people that we're supposed to feel like they're bad, but we all know that they have to die. I mean, the thing that I feel about that whole thing, and both the book too is also a problem, is that we want to give Katniss as much excuses for the killing that she does in the series. So it's like, we won't have her kill all these people. We'll make them so bad and so wicked that, you know, we hate them. But the thing about it is, Rue was gonna have to die eventually. I mean, I didn't want her to die. Hell, I'd be happy if she lived. But the fact of the matter is that as much as we want to hate the other tributes for doing this horrible thing, the fact of the matter is that if it was just down to Peeta, Katniss, and Rue was going to go down. I don't know how, but she was going to. And we are supposed to hate the person who kills Rue, but that could have been anyone. Hell, it could have been Katniss in the end. Probably not, but it could have been Peeta, it could have been anybody else. And are we going to demonize all of these kids so that we feel okay if Katniss has to take them down? And that kind of me also came up really jarring in the film, because they were so comical and over the top, like, yeah, let's kill him, it's awesome, raw. I'm just like, but I don't want to compare it to Battle Royale too much, because I feel like they are very different in other things and similar in other different ways. But with Battle Royale, you have this overarching tension of knowing if no one dies in 24 hours, they're all going to die. The Hunger Games could theoretically go on for a very, very long time unless the people in charge make it go by faster. So it's just kind of like you're just waiting and waiting and waiting Whereas in another thing, there's this whole pressure of someone has to die. Someone has to die now. And that idea, like when Rue takes care of Katniss and tells Katniss, oh, you've been asleep for like 2 weeks. I'm like, you've been here for like 2 weeks? Like, and no one has been like bringing them around to like find your body or anything like that. It just seems really ridiculous to me. Like, I cannot believe that people would watch these kids do this for so long and just be like waiting for these kids to die. And I know people bring up like the gladiators and stuff like that. That is different, because with the gladiators there was a lot more things involved, and also they dehumanized a group. It wasn't just like, we're just going to grab random people from all around the place and put them in there and it's going to be fun. You dehumanize them so that everyone else views them as a weaker thing. That's not what they're doing in the Hunger Games. They glamorize them, they make it pretty, but you know what they're doing. It doesn't work for me. But again, that's the source material. It's not really the movie. But just going on and just trying to wrap things up, the pacing in the movie was really good, even though at times it's kind of like, really, that much time has gone by? It seems different when you read it than to visualize it, because then you think that there would be like more than just kind of like, she passes out, wakes back up. It's always been 2 weeks. What? Really? But that is not really the film's fault. I mean, they had to do it somehow. They couldn't just skip it over. But I think it's a good movie. I don't really like this. The one thing I gotta say, besides that, I don't like the sets and like how the Capitol looks or how District 12 looks. They look very, I don't know, it just, I had an image of it in the book, and when watching it in the film, it didn't really fit what I thought it was supposed to look like. I felt like it just kind of looked kind of bland. I didn't really like the way it looked. It just kind of looked like literally when we went to the kingdom, not to the kingdom, but we went to like the Capitol, I'm like, it looks like Naboo. It looks like some kind of like space Star Wars kind of world. It didn't really click for me. I didn't really like that. But overall, I can't really blame the movie for that. I mean, I had to pick some kind of art style. But overall, it's still a good movie. I think that if you like the book, you'll enjoy the movie. It's a really faithful adaptation. They really keep a lot of the stuff, most of the stuff that's important in the book. I mean, the Mockingjay pin thing, I know people are kind of like, oh, they skipped it out. The only reason why that even bothers me is just because it's kind of just like, here, I'll protect you. Lols, not really. And then since they're like, good luck, take that shit back. It almost makes it seem kind of comical. Acting, except the guy who played Peeta, solid. You know, you still get a lot of the same feelings that you got from the book in the movie. I feel like it really captures some important things of the book. My problems with the book are the problems I had with the movie, besides the whole fact that it didn't look certain ways how I wanted it to. But overall, if you were satisfied with the book and you enjoyed that, I think the movie will meet your expectations, and I think it's enjoyable, and I think that you'll have a good time. I'll definitely be seeing Catching Fire and Mockingjay. I mean, I'll have problems with it, as I know, but they're still good movies, and the acting is good, and hey, I like to support female-led action movies. So, Hunger Games.